Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Caderna Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Caderna. If you feel like Amazon runs the world, you're not alone. And if you're wondering how exactly they do it, today you're going to learn as we pull back the curtain with a guest who knows more about e-commerce than anyone I know. Yoni Mazor is the Chief Growth Officer and co-founder of Getita. Getita, which stands for Get Intelligent Data Analytics, tracks and audits billions of dollars of Amazon transactions daily. With cloud-based technology, Yoni's company provides state-of-the-art reimbursement recovery solutions for Amazon sellers. Before founding Getita, Yoni sold fashion apparel through Amazon's FBA service, or Fulfilled by Amazon service, to the tune of $20 million annually. He eventually merged with another company and began transacting over $100 million a year of apparel sales. We discuss everything from how Amazon really makes money, and lots of it, what happens to all of your data on Amazon, and how inflation and supply chain issues are impacting the economy today and in years to come. So without further ado, here's Yoni Mazor.
Is going to require work and time and sweat and toil.
If money wasn't an issue, what would I be doing?
Don't worry about it. You'll figure it out.
Change is the only constant.
The Caderna Podcast.
Yoni, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, certainly. So I know that was quite a cool introduction there on this company that sounds very high tech, very new age. Can you tell us a little bit of what intelligent data analytics means for the layperson?
Yeah, so we're in the world of e-commerce. So that's the universe that we live in. And it's all data driven. All the traffic that comes in and out of a web page, for example, is all recorded. It's all documented, right? And that is the premise and foundations of the internet and every single page that's there. If I can parallel it to the world of brick and mortar, right? The physical world. It's imagine that every store or office or building or real estate component is able to record and document every person that came into the building, right? So with that premise, that's the kind of the universe of e-commerce and internet where we live. And of course, our focus is in the world of internet and e-commerce, the world of Amazon. And I'm sure nobody needs an introduction to Amazon. Everybody, I guess, at this point is addicted to the game, and we all consume and shop there. So the company that we created helps third-party Amazon sellers with auditing, with intelligent data analytics, because there's a lot of data that's going on within what's happening with the account, what's happening with all the transactions. So our technology is able to basically find mistakes and problems that happen, and then we have a dedicated team of that helps solve those issues. That's a very for layman term, just to simplify. The world that we live in is our data and technology, and finds a problem, and then we kind of create the solution and solve the issue. But it's all digital and it's all based on data analytics.
Got it. And now when you talk about like discrepancies with Amazon and with an Amazon seller, are you talking about like money didn't reach their account, or a discrepancy as far as what a particular customer is or what they look like, or like the actual data of that buyer?
You got it. So the world or niche we live in is within Amazon is as follows. So when you sell on Amazon, right, let's say you're a college student and you want to make some money on the side. So you can start selling stuff on Amazon. You can sell your textbooks, or you go to a Walgreens and find something on discount that's been sold for $5. Maybe it's been sold on Amazon for $20, stuff like that. In any case, I'm just giving an example, but there's millions of such sellers. So once you decide selling on Amazon, you have logistically, you have two options. Either you hold and store all your products in your own garage or warehouse or wherever it is. And as the orders come in from the marketplace, you take your product, you put them in the boxes, you put a label on them, and then you ship them to the customers. That's the first option. With this kind of option, we can't do much for you. We can't really help you. But there's a second option. The second option is called FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon. In other words, what you can do is, instead of having your own warehouse or putting your product in your own like garage or something like that, you can just ship it to Amazon, to their fulfillment centers, and they will store your inventory and your products. And then as the orders come in from the marketplace, they're going to fulfill it. They're going to, take those units from the bins. They're going to package it in a box. They're going to ship it out to the consumers. And that's the FBA option, fulfillment by Amazon option. And that is why Amazon is able to provide consumers, out there with really fast shipping, 1 day or 2 day prime shipping. It's usually possible because all these sellers behind the scenes are using Amazon's fulfillment centers and shipping hundreds of billions of dollars worth of products and inventory every year to the fulfillment center, so they have a nice spread, and then they can really ship it out quickly to consumers. So this is the niche that we can help you with. And how do we help? So let's say you shipped 1,000 units from your products to Amazon's fulfillment center, right? And Amazon, instead of receiving 1,000 units, they only receive, let's say, 990. So 10 units are missing. So that's where our technology with the analytics, the data analytics, we're able to find that discrepancy, right? The missing 10 units. And then once we find it, and the information goes to our team, we're going to reach out to Amazon and say, hey, look, this shipment was supposed to have 1,000 units, but you only received 990 units. Where are the missing 10 units? And if Amazon finds the missing 10 units, that's great. We solve the problem. Now the seller can sell it, make the money, and it's all good. And if they don't find the missing 10 units and it's eligible for reimbursement, what happens is Amazon will provide a refund or a reimbursement, which is a financial recovery. So let's say the missing 10 units are worth $10 each. They're going to give the seller $100. And that is how also we're able to financially solve this discrepancy. So it's a niche within a niche within a niche, but that's kind of the focus that we have. And, it's really helpful for many, entrepreneurs and businesses out there.
That's interesting. And now, like, it's funny because you see these gigantic Amazon warehouses that kind of pop up around the country. And I was always under the impression that was like Amazon territory, Amazon basics, Amazon goods. So those warehouses, they're actually having their own Amazon proprietary product, but also every other third party out there that's selling through Amazon.
100% correct. So yeah, so that's what's happening in the background. So most people, the regular consumers, are not even aware what's going on. Today, I would safely say that maybe 60% or maybe 70% of all the products that are being sold on Amazon are not being sold by Amazon. They're being sold by third-party Amazon sellers, which is people like you and me. Anybody can really start selling on Amazon. You can sell Nike, or you can, in other words, you can resell products that you find in a store, or you can make your own product. You can go and say, hey, I want to create my Brian Caderna shoe brand, and then you find a factory, you create your shoes, and you list it on Amazon, you sell it. So that is kind of the typical profile of the sellers that are there. And that is why it's so robust. It's such a huge selection because there's I think worldwide, there's about 6 million third-party Amazon sellers. Excuse me 1 second.
Wow.
And then in the United States, there's about 2 million Amazon third-party sellers. So these 2 million sellers are 2 million entrepreneurs out there that are hustling and bustling, and they're using their creative minds and entrepreneurial spirit to push and provide products and inventory into the marketplace. And that is what consumers are enjoying. Amazon would not have this ability to have so much inventory on its own. It just it's a really big feat to be able to have such a wide selection so quickly. So yeah, it's about 60-40 or 70-30 in favor of the entrepreneurs out there. 20 years ago or 20 plus years ago, when Amazon started, it was strictly Amazon. That's what, it was selling the books and CDs and stuff like that. That's the early beginning.
Yeah.
And over the years, they opened it up for third-party Amazon sellers. And the momentum just kept growing and growing and growing. And today they really dominate the landscape. And Amazon, I think, rightfully so, they figure, hey, these millions of entrepreneurs, they're amazing. They're creating brand new products that have never been sold anywhere in their universe before, which is really cool. It's times of innovation. You can have a patent on your products or whatever and touch the consumers right away, right? Imagine that. Amazon has hundreds of millions of consumers. You don't have to, before Amazon, right? You had to, if you wanted to sell your products, you have to go to Costco, Walmart, Target, and go through the buyers, the gatekeepers. Today, you don't have that. You can just create a product, you list it on Amazon, you drive the right traffic into your listing, and that's it. You hit the consumers, Amazon consumers, and guess what? Their credit card is already on the platform, right, on their Amazon account. And if they like your product and they like what they see and they like the reviews and whatever, add to cart, buy it, they're done. There's no gatekeepers. It's you in front of the consumers. I mean, the gatekeeper is Amazon. They'll make sure that everything's authentic, everything's good to go, that you really have the inventory, and the consumers are going to get the product on time. Because guess what? Amazon holds the inventory because the third-party Amazon seller actually shipped the products to Amazon, and Amazon holds it with its own hands. So that's kind of the partnership level that the entrepreneurs and the third-party sellers have with Amazon, which makes it a really powerful combination.
And That's interesting. And just to kind of sidestep for a second, because a question I've gotten a number of times is kind of like, how does Amazon make money? Where are their profit centers? And one of the questions that was posed to me on this show actually a few weeks ago, one of our guests said, if you look at Amazon, you can go buy hypothetically a jar of olives for $2.80. That you have somebody that is, producing, for lack of a better term, that jar of olives, getting it to Amazon, and then Amazon is getting that to you possibly the next day at your doorstep. And it's like, where that costs money to get it from the producer to Amazon, and then Amazon to the shipping person to my doorstep. And we did that all for a couple dollars without a shipping charge, aside from my little Prime membership I pay every year. So when you look at a scenario like that, it's like, how do they make money in a little kind of microcosm like that?
Yeah, I love that question, by the way. So this is a perfect question that touches the fundamentals of the scale economy. So let me unpackage this. It's a pretty loaded question, even though it seems very innocent, right? So in this specific case, on the unit economics, it could be that they're really losing money. They might be even losing. They sell it for 280, and they might be losing 280 or a dollar, a penny for penny. That's one thing to consider. And it could be that also this is a loss leader, meaning, how you go to the supermarket and you have to go all the way to the back to buy your eggs and milk, and the milk is really an amazing offer. It's only 99 cents instead of being $2.99 or something like that. So the supermarket is taking a heavy hit, or they're losing money when you buy, every time you buy this box of milk. So, but the reason is that they're losing this money, or it's because you're going to go all the way to the back of the supermarket, and guess what? You're going to pick another product or two. You're going to pick potato chips or a Snicker bar or whatever it is, and that's how they're going to make their margins. They're going to make their profit on you. And because the overwhelming majority of the people who come into the supermarket and walk all the way to the back to buy that milk for a heavy discount, which they lose money on, they just pick up other stuff in between. Same thing with kind of Amazon, just on the digital space. That 280 that you bought, a good chance you're going to browse around Amazon. You're going to see all these other products and say, this is cool. So you might buy it on the spot, or you're going to save it for later, and later on you're going to buy it. In other words, you want to keep the traffic in the system. So they're okay with you losing money on that jar of olives, because you'll feel like Amazon is a really good environment and place for you to shop online. And you have a lot of trust with it, and they're going to make the money on the next product that you're going to buy. That's one consideration. But even if you never will, and then you're just gonna buy these there's a jar of olives day and night. You say, hey, Amazon, let me show you how you're gonna lose money. They're still okay with it, because they make their margins in many other places. They sell billions of products and units in their platform, and they're making margins on them. That's one layer. Another layer is that they make a lot of money off the third-party sellers. Because when I sell a product, and not me, I used to sell. I don't sell anymore. But let's say you start selling on Amazon, and you want to sell the same jar of olives, and let's say you want to sell it for $100. I'm just throwing these simple numbers. They're going to charge you 15% selling fee. So they're going to charge you $15 just for selling on their platform. Good chance you're going to pay them for marketing, which means advertising. You're probably going to advertise your product on their platform, so consumers will click your listing and your product offering, and they're going to go into it and hopefully convert and hopefully buy the product. So you're going to pay them advertising for that. So that can add a few dollars, and that's pure gain, pure profit, because when you pay to advertise products on Amazon, their platform, it's digital real estate. It doesn't really cost them anything extra. They already own the space. The consumers are already there. So how you shop on Amazon, it says sponsor, right? You notice that?
Yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah,
That's a huge moneymaker. It's like it's like they're built in Times Square within the system, and because so many eyeballs are there, so they're selling that digital space, that digital real estate, and it's a huge profit center for them. So they can take that profit center and all that juice that they make and really create offers within the marketplace that look unbelievable. Like, how are they making money? It could be that they're not making money in that case, but they have other revenue generators or profit centers. Yeah, that's another layer. And then a third layer is that there's many layers. I'm just giving you just the scale of things, right? Another layer is their Amazon Web Services, AWS. So Amazon is the largest. I'm not sure if many of you guys know that, but Amazon is the largest cloud provider to the world, right? Most of the cloud, the back end computing and computing power that's out there in the internet is provided by Amazon. Their cloud services. The FBI uses it, the CIA uses it, Netflix uses it. All these big system that we take for granted are using Amazon's computing power because it's humongous. They created, by the way, this computing power for their marketplace so they can really contain all these products and listings and images and videos and all that stuff and all this data. But they did such a good job with it. They said, yeah, we have actually extra space here to in the computing space to offer it out. So they started offering that out, and that was pure juice, pure profit. Their margins are like they're just printing money. So, and that is a huge profit center for them as well. That allowed them, by the way, all these years to be able to take heavy losses on the retail side. On the retail side, many if you had to really detach Amazon's retail operations from the entire ecosystem they have, there's a good chance they lost money over the years and will probably never make money. But the reason they're still in business is because they're able to have all these layers of protection, let's call it, or profit protection or profit contribution, that they're able to keep that and sustain that and create a benchmark in an environment where consumers expect, how to, that's kind of the barometer of how you shop and shop online. The customer service, the return policy, it's very, very convenient. And Amazon was able to provide that all these years and lose money because they're able to make money somewhere else. And that became the standard of shopping online, which is very important, I think, because people trust shopping online right now. I don't know if you remember this, but 20 plus years when internet was just starting, like I'm going to buy something and provide a credit card. Who's on the other side? I have no idea, no trust. They broke that apart completely and created full trust in the system. And they pushed us into the digital age where many entrepreneurs out there who can work anywhere in the world, they call them the digital nomads, and have an amazing lifestyle because of that trust system that they built, which they lost money on, but they're able to lose money on it because they had other layers of profit centers. So hopefully this kind of gives an idea of the economy of scale and how they're able to do this.
No, that was Yoni. That was like the best answer I could have expected in like 4 minutes. There was a lot in there. And there's a lot that I kind of want to go back to as well. So it sounds like they might actually lose a little bit of money on that jar of olives, but they have other profit centers, whether it be Amazon web services, the sponsoring, or that seller, paying per click and things.
Yeah,
and as you were
advertising,
talking, it kind of reminded me of like the classic, gym analogy of, they might charge $30 to go to the gym, and one guy's there 7 days a week, but then they have plenty of people that just go once a month, and they're making plenty of money off of those folks. So with that said, one of the things you did mention though was a service fee, that they could recoup money on a service fee. Is that something that every third party seller is subjected to, or how exactly does the service fee work?
Got it. So they call it selling fee. So to sell on Amazon's platform and be engaged with your consumer and for you to be able to sell on their platform, they're going to charge you a fee for that, right? They call it selling fee, and it's split by categories. You have all these different categories. If you have electronics, it's typically 8%. So if you sell your products for $10, 8% of that would be 80 cents. Will go to Amazon. They charge you that fee. And don't forget, they control everything. You log into the Amazon platform, you got an order, you got a sale, and the consumer paid $10, they're gonna they usually deduct the fees. And after all the fees are deducted, then they're gonna wire the money to your bank account. That's typically the name of the game and how it works. Electronics is 8%. You have clothing, it's 15%. There's all these for these types of products. But this is not new at all. Same thing goes with eBay. If you ever sold on eBay, anybody that's listening to this episode, same thing. They have a selling fee. Typically, eBay charges less. I think they started, I think it's 10% or something like that. It's typically 3% lower than Amazon. But nevertheless, even though Amazon's selling fees are a bit higher, most entrepreneurs and online sellers find success on Amazon, and they just build a business around Amazon's ecosystem instead of eBay. Because they're able to keep more in their pocket. It's just it's much more robust, and consumers are preferring to shop on Amazon instead of eBay for a variety of reasons, and that's where the game is right now in terms of e-commerce.
With that said, I mean, how is eBay still existing? Like, I remember way back in the day, like if you wanted to sell some of your baseball cards, eBay was the spot. But the Amazon seems to have taken over the world, yet eBay is still there. Like, what? Do they just have a loyal following, or do they have a new niche they've created?
It's a combination of things. One thing to consider is the kind of first to market advantage, the legacy. So people adopted it early on. They just got used to it. So they're still around, and they were kind of the first to go global. So there's a lot of global users for eBay, meaning people in the UK and Europe and the Middle East and places like that. They still shop on eBay. So they're able to make their money that way. And eBay, the main contrast between eBay and Amazon is that eBay, if just to make it simple, I don't want to insult eBay or anything like that, but eBay is more like a flea market. Anybody can. You have an old cane at home from you list it on eBay and you realize it's actually a cane from the British Empire's rule of somewhere in Africa, and this lord used it, and it's actually worth, I don't know, a few $1,000s, right? You can't sell that on Amazon. Nobody's gonna buy it on Amazon. Nobody's gonna expect to buy it on Amazon. It's gonna be too awkward, right? But on eBay, it's not a problem. So in other words, you can sell antiques, you can sell awkward things, and it's okay. It's like a flea market, but the digital age. So if I would compare it into the physical world, eBay is like the flea markets that you still have everywhere around the world, and it's totally legitimate, totally fine. You can find really cool things, and there's a lot of room for creativity. Amazon is more like the mall, like the New Age mall. You go to the mall, you're not going to find used products. You're not going to find all these awkward things. You're going to find kind of the big brands out there, the American Eagle, the Gap, the Banana Republic, the J. Crew, all that kind of stuff. So that's the way kind of I see things.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so that does leave some space, you could say, for for eBay to still exist. One thing that we had talked a little bit about, I want to go back to, is on trust, where so much right now is a skeptical consumer of, are they overpaying? Are they getting a quality good in person, brick and mortar, or online? Some of the things you hear about Amazon, it's twofold that I've heard anecdotally, but a lot, is Amazon Basics. Are they're essentially taking a common good like a Ethernet cord or a new iPhone charger and making it the cheapest way possible. And then the other thing sometimes I've heard is from third-party sellers, like if you go to buy your pet food on Amazon, that you could be getting, expired pet food. Yeah, it's the big brand name, but maybe it was expired 3 months ago. Can you speak to that? Are those just rumors and stories, or those issues that people really do deal with?
Yeah, let me kind of arrange the good points, by the way. So let me kind of unpackage that as well. If I'll try to do my best. So let's start with the Amazon Basic component of things. So there's really no issue with Amazon Basics in general, as a rule. It's just kind of a line that Amazon has, and it typically it takes these products that are mostly commodities. They're commoditized: batteries, straws, plastic cups, things that are, you don't really necessarily look for the brand name. So it's, in other words, it can be generic. Same thing when you go to CVS, they have their own generic brand. And if you go to Walmart, all these mortar stores apply the same rule. They have all these products where you can create generics. Actually, in the pharmacy land or the pharmacy world, it's a bit more sophisticated because they actually have some medicine, which is generic medicine that they, CVS, if you want to buy Tylenol, you can buy the CVS generic one, the Tylenol. I don't even know how they call it, but that's very sophisticated. So they do that even on pharmaceutical products, which consumers trust. Say, hey, this is Tylenol, it's a big brand, but this is CVS brand, but I trust CVS, so I buy that for a few dollars less, and I'm going to get my headache removed from a CVS product rather from the leading brand name. So that's kind of the premise of Amazon Basics, and with this kind of merit, there's no issue. The problem is with Amazon Basic in Congress, by the way, is that what's happening is that the third-party Amazon sellers, in other words, the entrepreneurs, are complaining or there's a concern by the government and Congress that Amazon is using unfair advantages. And I'll give you the breakdown. So they're saying that Amazon is able to see all the data of these third-party Amazon brands, right? That shine and perform really well on the platform. And because of that, Amazon's like, look at this product. It's selling hundreds of millions of dollars. And we don't see it anywhere else. It's not on Walmart. It's not like a big brand or anything like that. It's kind of a brand that rose to the top instead of Amazon. And they say, you know what? We see all the data and all the revenue. We're just gonna. I don't want to be. I'm not saying that they did. I'm not accusing them, but I'm saying the issue that Congress and the sellers have with them is that they're copying. They're copying these really unique, innovative products because they have access to all the data, and all of a sudden they're competing with the third-party Amazon seller. And they can compete at a price. So if you're selling a product for $40, they'll come in and sell for $20. And the only reason that they're selling is because they saw how well you're performing on the platform because they had access to all the data, right? Yeah. And that is kind of the concern. It's not competitive. It's a issue as far as Congress is considered. And he said, when they really confronted him about it, said, we are aware there's some evidence, concerning evidence from people in your team. And Amazon's by, a team, the retail team, that they created all these products based on all the data that was available to them from these third-party seller revenue charts. So he said, I'm not aware, and if this was indeed the case, this is against our policy, meaning they don't encourage copying products of other consumers out there and creating this anti-competitive environment, because don't forget, it's a win-win for them if you buy it from okay, one second here. So yeah, so if they buy it from the third-party seller, Amazon will make all its fees. But if they buy it from Amazon or Amazon Basics, they make the money. So it's a win-win for them. But it's not necessarily a win-win for the third-party seller, because if they eventually buy Amazon Basics, the seller is kind of in a very bad spot. So that's a concern with Amazon Basics. That was the first kind of thing you touched. What was the second thing? I just want to make sure I cover that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that was a good explanation of Amazon Basics. And I think that's the narrative I've heard, is that they're using a almost unfair competitive advantage, but then a byproduct of that is they're able to sell like a less quality product through Amazon Basics, which may be true, it may not be. The other one I heard, though, is that with the third-party seller, so you could say, all right, I'm not buying Amazon dog food, I'm buying Kibbles and Bits. I know I'm going with a classic reputable brand, but am I getting Kibbles and Bits that was supposed to be on the shelves 3 months ago that perhaps is now expired? Those are some of the things I hear from buying the name brand on Amazon, but it might be an older and outdated product.
Right. So the concern I would say is less on the Amazon side, because Amazon is really strict. They're strict on themselves as well. So if you buy from the major brand that you mentioned or Amazon itself, usually you'll be okay on both of them. Usually the mistakes always happen. But the concern is actually from on the flip side, from the third-party Amazon sellers. So Amazon has a lot to lose, so they're always going to keep themselves to high standards. But you're in a third-party Amazon seller, and you have all this dog food that you want to sell on the platform, and you made a huge production. You didn't sell everything. You still have 30% of your inventory. It's already expired, but you don't want to throw it away. So you're going to play games, and you're going to keep selling it, and that's when the consumers might have an issue. That's kind of usually what the issue is, or the concern is with consumers, I assume. So in that case, my opinion about it is that it's probably still okay, because Amazon is very, very strict. The reality is that Amazon is very strict with the third-party Amazon sellers, because they have access to Amazon's consumers and customers, and Amazon holds themselves even to high standards. They hold the same standards for the third-party sellers. So if there is any complaint or a hint of a complaint from a consumer about any type of product that is sold by a third-party Amazon seller, Amazon really strikes down hard. They can come in and boom, suspend you right away. They knock you out of the game. They say a consumer bought this and they're saying it's expired and that's against our policy. Your account is suspended until further notice. Now, then they tell you, okay, if you want to reinstate this account in your business and put you back to life, give us a plan of action. Why did this happen? How did this happen? What can you do about it? Give us the documentation. Give us invoices. When did you create this? They're gonna really. It's gonna be almost like a court judgment. They're the judge. They're the lawyer. They're the everything. It's kind of a little awkward. They have a lot of power when it comes to that. But typically, what happens is the seller realized that they messed around. They played around with their policy and the guidelines, and they got knocked out. And then there's two options: either they get knocked out of the game completely because it's not for them, or they say, "No, I got it. I've sinned. I'm mistaken, and I'm going to change my game," and they usually do, because if they don't, it's going to happen again. They're going to get striked out. It's not a sustainable business. Nobody can really survive with that environment. This is what's happening over the years on Amazon's platform, which I do sincerely believe that it's becoming more and more of a quality platform because of the strict guidelines and rules and the standards that Amazon is holding towards the third-party Amazon sellers.
Yeah, no, and that's comforting to hear, because I think it's nice to see that they really are policing that it's not like the wild, wild west of sellers.
Big time. If anything, I would humbly say that they're probably over policing, because Amazon's rule. We service a large user base, thousands of sellers and entrepreneurs, and the reality is that Amazon's motto and rule, I always tell it to the sellers: the consumer is always right, even if they're clearly wrong. Doesn't matter. They're right. They bought a product, they completely botched it and stepped all over it and smashed it, and they return it back to you. They said, "I smashed it, I ruined it, and I sent it back to the seller, and because of that, I don't like it." And they give you a 1-star review, even though the product was perfect, whatever. But it is what it is. We have a 1-star review, and Amazon's not going to move that, and that's a reality thing, because they're right. This is what they're experienced. That's what they did. and they're right, even if they're clearly wrong and they're admitting and writing, they're the king. And that is why consumers love Amazon, because this is their ultimate platform for them to consume. So of course you have all these weird the bad weeds, so to speak, with these wacky consumers, but the overwhelming majority of consumers are fine. They buy the products, it's wholesome, they like it, they enjoy it, and they get what they need. Some of them are able to really play games. They can buy all these outerwear and beautiful clothing and use it, and then for a beautiful party, and it could be really expensive, and then they return it back and say, hey, it was damaged, it was really bad quality, and it was fake, even get you suspended, right? Just so they can get their refund back, because they want to abuse the system, and Amazon's okay with it. It is what it is, because it's on the grand scale of things, it's super narrow, it's super on the sidelines, and the overwhelming majority are doing the right thing, and that's kind of the fundamental.
Yep, got it. Yeah, I guess they just go back to that bottom line, and the good is outweighing the bad in that instance. And so there's a lot of questions I have here as kind of a follow-up, Yoni, that as we're talking, I mean, there's so much to get into. Amazon really is an amazing company. But what I wanted to ask is, you had something like eBay that was first to market. Then we have Amazon takes over the world. But then we have, the monsters of the brick and mortar space, such as Walmart and then maybe Target, that say, okay, we want to get into e-commerce. We want to try and do 1 day or 2 day delivery. We're not going to charge you. It could go to the store, or we can send it right to your house. What type of impact is that having on this e-commerce economy? Like, is it really impacting Amazon's bottom line, or have they just pushed right through it?
Yeah, so I would say at this point it's not. I think the trend overall is good. It's good for Amazon. It's good for everybody, because the more consumers are tuned towards shopping online, it's good for the e-commerce industry in general. So there's more footstep, or there's more feet in the digital space. I mean, there's more users, there's more shoppers online, and they fill up this whole environment. And maybe it's Target that pulled them in, or Walmart, but the good chance they'll find Amazon at some point, and vice versa. In other words, they unwillingly they cross-pollinate each other, and it's okay. But so the whole it brings a tide towards the whole environment, and it's good. I don't think it's affecting Amazon's bottom line yet, because Amazon has a huge moat. I think, but within a decade or two, things should start kind of balancing out. I think the immediate suspect, in a good way, that might give Amazon a run for its money would be Walmart. It's just a juggernaut on the physical space of things, and it has so many resources they can apply to kind of try to provide a safe, trusted platform for consumers out there online digitally. And they're doing it. They're getting more and more aggressive about it. They also opened up what they call WFS, Walmart Fulfillment Services, which is competing with Amazon's FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon services, for third-party sellers. In other words, you can also send your product to Walmart. They're going to store it, and as your orders come in, they'll fulfill it. They started in the past year or two. It's compared to Amazon, it's really a drop. You know how they say drop in the bucket? It's a drop in the ocean. But still, there's Walmart has a lot of drops in its arsenal and its back pocket. So it'll be interesting to see and to follow this battle of the giants in the coming years. But overall, I think it's good for both of them. You need a secondary thing. Same thing on the physical space. You have Walmart, super powerful, and the second in command is Target, and they're both really successful for decades. And there's room for both.
Yeah, and that might even take some pressure off of Amazon of being perceived as a monopoly in a sense.
100%. By the way, I want to touch that. It's brilliant. What you just said is brilliant, because I don't know if you know this, but Apple, at the end of the 90s, is really crippling. It's really about to almost run out of business. And what happened was, believe it or not, Microsoft came in because they were having so much pressure from the government, and they invested $100 million into Apple, so they kind of survive and get it together, and eventually they did, and the rest is history. But yeah, Microsoft needed that second command in the tech world, so they don't get broken apart. The government wanted to break apart Microsoft. That was super powerful. So they even had the interest of their foe, or because Apple was kind of the only one out there trying to look like or appear as a competitor to Microsoft. That's what happened back in the day, and I think the statement you made, that Amazon needs a secondary in command, so they're relieves the pressure. I think it's absolutely correct.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things you mentioned too, I think a lot of people don't realize, I didn't, is that so Walmart actually is a third-party seller now. Like, you can do that through Walmart.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So Walmart.com back in the day, same thing like Amazon, and they only sold their own products, right? But no, well, the same thing like Amazon, they opened that up, and yeah, you can start selling your products on Walmart. So once again, you want to touch Walmart consumers, you don't have to go through their buyers, the gatekeepers. Back in the day, you just open an account with Walmart, and you apply, and they open that up for you, and then you're able to upload your products into their platform. You can pay for advertising, same thing like you do with Amazon, to drive traffic and consumers towards your listing and your products and get their eyeballs and the exposure and convert them and make them shop. So it's an open game, also on the Walmart side. And guess what? I think that happened because of what happened, the evolution between eBay coming in and then Amazon coming in, and they're making so much wealth and profit on the digital space with the use and partnership of third-party sellers and entrepreneurs out there. So Walmart opened up to that completely. So that's the name of the game right now.
Hmm. And to move on a little bit, what we were talking a lot about, and a lot of what you do obviously deals with data. And people say, data is the new currency. Like whoever holds the most amount of data, that is like its own source of wealth in and of itself.
Big time.
So a couple things there. We know Amazon, and you hear a lot about like Google as well, is just tracking things that you can't even begin to fathom. And then they're able to parlay that into some sort of specific knowledge. So how does your company distill that, or how are you different in a sense that you're in between Amazon and your customer, and you somehow make sense of Amazon's data? Is that kind of your role? Is that like the benefit to your customer?
Yeah, it's our position is I mean, I'm humble. We help a lot of sellers, but our position is in the scope of things, it's just a kind of a pain point that they have, and we created the solution over the years because we experienced it ourselves when we were sellers, Amazon sellers. We don't sell anymore. We just focus on helping sellers. But I'll give you kind of the breakdown just to keep it in context. So sellers, when you sell on Amazon, right, you open an Amazon account, there's many things you got to take care of, right? You got to take care of the sourcing, you got to source your inventory, you got to take care of logistics, shipping in and out. There's bookkeeping, accounting, advertising, all these components. But within them, there's auditing. You got to kind of reconcile all the transactions that transpired on the platform. So once again, I'm giving the original example. You ship your inventory to Amazon's fulfillment centers, and then you shipped 1,000 units. You only received 190. You got to reconcile that. So it's one thing, it's another task or a thing you gotta take care of, and you could. And we encourage the sellers to do the maximum they can do to reconcile as much as they can. But then they can also come to a solution provider like us, Gatita, and we'll take it off their hands. So this way they can focus more on the things that move the needle and creates the business, which is marketing and selling and stuff like that. And then our position is being more like archaeologists. We always look into the data and we dig into the past with our digital brushes and with with all the rubble and the sand, and only if we pick out a golden nugget from the old ages, we're able to provide value through that digging. And the sellers typically get the ability to sell their products that were missing or got or not available, and now they are. So that's a value. Or if Amazon financially provides a financial recovery, they get that money, and they're able to get the solution that they need and use that money to keep investing in the business. So that's kind of the world and position that we live in, and it's all through data. There's large data systems, and we're able to brush through the data, and it's all mathematics. So our mission really, to keep it really basic, is to find a -1 with all the data, and then present that -1 to the other body, and then the other body needs to provide a proper explanation. And if they don't, they just provide that +1, and then everybody's whole, and then we move on.
Got it. Got it. And just to give us a little bit of background too, like you obviously didn't just start out of the blue with your company here. You said that you were operating a business previously doing over $20 million a year on Amazon. What exactly was that? Because I assume that's what triggered this whole idea of creating the current company.
Correct. Yeah. So one thing led to another. So here's the evolution of how Gatita came to be what it is today. So about a decade ago, we started selling online. And back in the day, our main platform was eBay, right? As we discussed, even for us, it was kind of the entry gate. And then in 2013, we started selling on Amazon, and the business grew very, very quickly from 0 to 20 million in annual sales. Then we also became a part of a larger group, and together as a group, we're doing about 100 million in revenue, and it was mostly an FBA on Amazon, fulfilled by Amazon. We used Amazon fulfillment centers. So what happened was
And
we
this was
had some.
clothing products that you were selling?
Yeah, so we, at the end of the day, we were like a mini department store. We started back in the day, early on, we started with watches. Then we and went into jewelry, and then sunglasses, and shoes, and then just clothing, and it just became like a mini department store. So it was, it was fashion brands, and then we
Got it.
expanded it globally. We went to the UK and Europe. We started selling worldwide. It became a heavy duty operation. So on the FBA side, or the fulfillment by Amazon side of things, all these transactions we had to reconcile. We couldn't do it anymore because our spreadsheets, right, the tools we were using were just breaking. It was just too much data. So that pushed us to create software and technology for ourselves to be able to audit and reconcile things on a large scale. And that was the first thing we did. And then the second thing that we did was we created a dedicated team to manage that data and work with Amazon on reconciling all the back and forth elements of these issues. So we create so we get a proper resolution on it. So in other words, we created the solution for ourselves, and that worked pretty well for us. And then what happened was we told our friends from the industry that we have these capabilities. So they told us, help us, we'll pay you. And that was the early genesis and creation of Getita back in 2015. Now, over the years, for like 2-3 years, it was growing organically from word of mouth. And the reason it was growing nicely is because the way that we work is really nice. It's really comfortable because it's performance based only. In other words, it's free to join Getita, and it's free to stay with Getita. We only charge a fee if we get you a recovery. So let's say, Brian, you joined Getita, and our technology is able to go back 18 months on all the transactions, and then we find $100 for you. So we get $100, and only if we got you that $100, we're going to charge you a fee, a 25% fee. So we're going to charge you $25, and then the next 30 days we get you $0. You pay $0. So it's free to join and it's free to stay. It's purely performance based. We call it PPR, pay per recovery only. So that's why over the years it's kind of growing organically. And then we just made a strategic decision to cash out of our retail positions, and then focus just on helping third-party Amazon sellers out there. And from the moment we did that, that's when we kind of took leadership on this niche and space. And today we're auditing billions of dollars of worth of transactions every single day. We have a team of 125 members in 6 countries. And we're an authorized solution provider by Amazon, which means we have a commitment to the sellers, but of course also a commitment to Amazon to make sure that we're terms of service compliant, data security, private policy, all these components. And that's kind of the reality that we find ourselves today. And that's in a nutshell the evolution of how we got here.
It was pretty cool. And now the obvious question becomes, you said you're tracking billions of dollars of transactions daily. We talked a little bit about Amazon basics before. Is there a chance where Amazon will say, wow, you're providing a lot of benefit to these consumers, there's a lot of money to be had there? Can they ever take you guys over and try and replace the service that you provide?
Oh, Amazon?
Yeah, like
let me just it's a good question. So let me give you some perspective on this. So Amazon as a system, as a platform, they automatically do provide refunds and recoveries to sellers automatically. They need about 30 days for that, so they have their own system doing it. And then but then in their terms of service, they tell the sellers, we're gonna give you everything that we can give you automatically within 30 days. But after 30 days, it's up to you the seller, to audit us and do your own reconciliation. And of course, if you found a discrepancy, bring it to our attention, we'll take care of you. And that is where we come in as a solution. So this is just a fundamental framework that they already created, so that we come in and we assist. The premise is that Amazon is already doing the most that it can to help the sellers, and then the sellers need to do the rest. So that's when we can come in as a solution and help. And yes, they're just this is the reality from day one. And financially speaking only, I don't think they have any extra incentives to invest a lot of money in their systems to make it a bit better, so they can automatically give more financial recoveries to the sellers out there. They kind of prefer having the sellers do all the grunt work and all the footwork and all the mathematics and present it to them, and then they'll take care of them if it all makes sense. Understand?
Yeah, no, I understand. That's good, because it really does seem like you have a niche there that has a lot of scale, a lot of opportunity, but maybe not right in the wheelhouse that Amazon wants to take over like they do quite a bit of other areas. So this was good. It's funny. I mean, your PR person gave me some awesome questions relevant to today's economy, but I feel like I could just keep going on Amazon and really kind of pulling back that curtain there. But I do want to move on and look at some of the issues that we're facing right now. The one that's front and center for everybody out there, consumer or business owner alike, is inflation. Inflation is running red hot right now. And we're seeing a lot of things causing that, such of course as oil and gas prices going way up. What's causing inflation in your opinion, and how is this affecting the business space that you're in?
Right. So inflation is like a wild beast that once it's out of the cage, it's really hard to contain it, to contain it and put it back where it is, because it tends to scratch you and hit you and fight with you until you're able to kind of put a lid on it. But it's usually a struggle. And we haven't, our generation, it's all totally new for us. I'm not a sage. I'm not 100 years old. I'm 37, but I'm a kind of a history freak, but I never experienced inflation in my lifetime. But as far as I'm aware, the same type of inflation happened the last time it happened in such a scale was the late 70s, early 80s, back in the Reagan era. So and it was a real struggle for many consumers and companies to put a lid on it and put it back in its cage and control it and have a steady growth over the years with the inflation rate that the Federal Reserve usually typically wants. The range is 1 to 3%, I believe, but now it's like 8%. So it's really out of control. That's just high level on inflation and its history. But I think what caused it originally was what happened with this pandemic. It created a major pendulum swing on the global economy. One position, you take care of that, and boom, boom. So all these shock effects are happening. So the perfect storm was created since COVID in the outbreak to put us in this position where inflation is just everywhere on a global level, not just in the United States. So if we, the all those economies that had to shut down, and people and factories had to be shut down, created all these shortages in supply, right? And then the ports had a real big issue of being able to process all the imports and the exports. So there's a lot of slowdowns in inventory, and then consumers still want to buy the same thing that they want to buy. So all of a sudden you have all these shortages. You remember in the pandemic, the early sprouts of inflation was the toilet paper. Remember how toilet paper you can buy a roll for like $10
Sure.
because there's simply no toilet paper rolls, like the new
Yeah.
gold. So that was an early indicator of supply and demand issues based on the panic and the challenges that COVID created. So like the pendulum, it started with the toilet paper and then just regular paper products, and then at some point it was lumber. It was really hard to get lumber, so it was really hard to renovate and build houses. So a lot of houses and construction houses had to kind of be halted, and then so the prices of houses went up also because of this, not just because of that, but also in addition because people said, okay, we're going to be stuck at home until we don't even know until when. So we want to have a larger home so we can do more things at home, right? We have a better time at home. So and people were leaving big cities. I know in New York City in the peak of the crisis, the price dropped 20% across the board in New York City, which is crazy to think because it's such a strong real estate market traditionally for all these years. So 20 drop percent in the kind of market is billions of dollars of value, decimated. But all that value kind of ran away towards the suburbs. So all of a sudden, the suburbs and the housing there got a lift. People from the bigger cities, the more wealthy people, are able to go into the suburbs and pay more for all these houses. Cost doesn't matter. Oh, you want another 50,000, 100,000? There it is. And all of a sudden, there's not enough houses in the suburbia land. So inflation, prices go even more up. And then you have the microchips. You have the issue. Microchips happen in a different perfect storm. You had Taiwan makes most of the microchips. Of course, they had all these supply chain issues because of Corona and the materials that they need to have to be able to create microchips. But also they had a real big drought of water. It takes a lot of water to create microchips, and they had a big drought in the country. So a lot of shortages of microchips, which affected electronics. And guess what? People needed electronics more than ever because they needed laptops to be at home and go on Zoom and continue their work and their studies. So it's a major rift, a major pressure on that. And then it also trickled into the car, industry.
Sure.
Cars were not able to, everything's finished in the car. All I need is that little chip, and they can't. So they
They
had to
can't get
start
it.
shred. Yeah, they can't get it. They can't sell the cars, so they have to start shredding cars. So the pendulum swings on and up and all around. And these are like all the shocks that's happening into the system. It's happening from many directions. It's too complex to kind of to really try to break down on a great
Sure.
level. But I hope a few of the example give the right context. And yeah, and now the Fed has to really step in. And the major tool that they have for that is raising the interest rate,
Hmm.
to higher levels. So money is more expensive, and that cools off the economy, cools off the appetite of people to buy, and hopefully that will cool off the prices and will cool off the inflation. That's an artificial way to cool off everything, but it has its own issues. Then you're risking slowing down the economy to such a degree where we'll go to a recession, people will lose their jobs, the job market. Once again, it's turbulence. You got to create this padding and soft landing so things don't really crash and become into depression.
Yep. No, and I think that was it was a good quick summary, and I'm sure most folks out there are already well acquainted with inflation and what's happening as we sit here in June, of 2022. But with that said, I mean we're heading into the summer. Then we got the fall coming up. I mean, what do you see perhaps for the remainder of the year? As like you alluded to, interest rates are going up as the Fed wants them to. It'll naturally slow some of the demand, slow some of the economy, so that hopefully it kind of comes down to what the economy can supply, so that we can kind of find that equilibrium. Do you think that that's doable by this year, or do you think that we're going to go into 2023 still paying a lot? And I mean, which at that point, I mean, you probably would be talking about a recession.
Yeah, so right now we're more than 2 years into this global pandemic crisis, and we're still, experiencing the aftermath. So I think it's gonna still, drive into 2023 and next year. It's all this cool off and aftershock waves that we're gonna have to acclimate ourselves into. So I do humbly think that it's gonna continue well into 2023. All in. It should. I think 5 years will be a good time frame to kind of guess that this since the pandemic started, and it will take 5 years to kind of be able to align everything together. Because I want to remind you, China had its own. There's still right now as we speak, there's still major lockdowns in China, and that's a major supplier to the world, global economy in
Sure.
terms of manufacturing. So it's still kind of around. We here in the United States we can feel maybe socially that things are back at and it's all opened up. But on the level, the global supply chain level, there's still challenges that need to be solved, and I think that's going to dive into 2023. But all in, hopefully, if there are the this is more on the medical side of things. If the majority of the infected or having vaccine, that's how you contract it with quotation mark through through medical care or vaccinating, right? Because they give you kind of the body gives you give the body a little bit of a taste of what the real thing was supposed to be, and it creates the antibodies. So if 70% plus of the world kind of is able to have their immune system ready for immune to it, then on a global scale, all these economies and societies were able to kind of come back to normal, and with less and less disruptions, with all these industries, and then kind of start really coming closer to the stage of equilibrium of in-time global supply chain as it used to be before the pandemic hit.
Got it. Got it. So this was all very, very interesting, Yoni. I know you're pressed for time. You're a busy guy. Anything that we didn't touch on that you think people should know about, whether it be Amazon and the buying and selling that goes on there, or kind of how we're navigating the current environment with both inflation and supply shortages. But it seems like people still want things. There's still demand there, even if we haven't felt the full breadth of the interest rate hikes quite yet.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we're in the United States. It's a consumer-based economy. We just love things. We love new things. We like innovation, and that spirit should continue. Will continue even if things slow down. Even if you go to recession. I'll just remind you that we had a major recession back in 2008, and we had an amazing boom. From 2008 all the way to 2020 until the pandemic hit. We had about 12 years of a nice run. And with the economy, things that comes in cycle. So it's okay to have this down cycle. It is what it is. It's the name of the game. So everybody can buckle up a little bit, eat a little bit of a humble pie, still shop, but not as luxuriously or privilegedly as we used to. And so that's okay. Until kind of things balance, we get more confidence, and then we can go, become a bit more bullish on that larger house or nicer car or latest gadget or a bigger TV. It's okay. That's the spirit of things. But when things are uncertain in the economy and there's a little bit of fear, it's okay. You buckle up and you stay humble. That's on the or consumer side of things. But I want to flip it on towards the the opportunity side of things in terms of entrepreneurship and income. I think that the digital age and the advent of internet and having all these platforms, available for people to be able to make money, I think that's amazing. It creates lots of opportunities to make money and wealth for people, but also do it in a way where you can balance your life in a way where it's going to be a good life. It's going to be real well balanced. You don't have to go to that big city corporate structure rat race that most of us are familiar with, over the past decades. Because today you can really run your empire remotely. A lot of big companies are, okay with hiring and employing people remotely, and you have a really good even corporate job, just so you can work anywhere in the world. So instead of living in New York City where it's really expensive, you go live in Idaho in a nice farm, you have a nice balanced life, and make the same income. Think
Yeah.
about that. How much opportunity that provides? Or you can live almost anywhere in the world. So that's very exciting, and I think that will open up a new horizon for people to have a good balanced life. You have, of course, you have all the gig economy. You can just take your car, do an Uber, or if you have an apartment somewhere, you rent it out at Airbnb. There's all these new ways to make money that were simply not available before. So we should embrace that. The new generation should embrace that, experiment with that, take the risk with that, and discover new markets and new things that they can do, or innovative things they can do to have a business or an income. I think that's exciting, and that is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. I know there's turbulence, but I'm usually very optimistic. So good things will transpire.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head there, Yoni. It's there's some fear and there's some headlines out there that you see on the news that can be a little worrisome, but I don't think there's been a better time in history where, thanks to technology and other advances, we've had more tools at our disposal and the environment prepared for us where, we can adapt quickly and find that balance that you spoke about. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Yoni. Again, everyone, thank you for tuning in to the Caderna podcast. I'm your host, Brian Caderna. Today, we had the chance to speak with Yoni Mazor, the co-founder of Gatita. Definitely go check out his company. You can find them on the internet. Really impressive stuff, cutting edge that they're working on. And keep on tuning in. Leave us a review wherever you're listening, and we will see you next time. This podcast is intended for the general public and for informational purposes only. The show does not provide any recommendations or investment advice regarding any specific account type, service, strategy, or product, or to otherwise act in any fiduciary or other capacity. Please contact a financial professional for guidance and information that is specific to your situation. Brian Caderna does not provide tax or legal advice. Please contact your accountant or legal advisor to discuss your situation. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by Park Avenue Securities, Guardian, or Caderna Financial Team, and opinions stated are their own. All investments contain risk and may lose value. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. References to specific securities, asset classes, and financial markets are for illustrative purposes only and do not constitute a solicitation, offer, or recommendation to purchase or sell a security. Brian Caderna is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS. OSJ 300 Broadacres Drive, Suite 175, Bloomfield, New Jersey 07003. Phone number 973-244-4420. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Caderna Financial Team is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. California Insurance License Number 0K04194.